Fresh off of a 13:17 5K at Boston, this man has been breaking down barriers, crushing historic records, and inspiring the next generations for his entire career. This guy has run some of the most watched moments in USA track and field, from his deadly kick at the 2016 Penn Relays to winning his first national title in 2019 and placing fourth at the 2024 Olympic team trials in the 10K. Drew Hunter has carved out his own path of success, from creating and founding Tinman Elite to starting a new journey this year with Asics. From breaking national records in high school to going pro right out of high school, there truly has never been an American talent like Drew Hunter, and I'm so excited to learn more about your journey with running and have you on the podcast. So thank you for doing this, Drew.
Thanks, man. That was a great intro.
Thank you. Yeah, we can hop into the first question and kind of go from there. And I just want to ask you, where you kind of developed this love of running. I know both of your parents were elite runners. Your dad ran 13:36 in the 5K, if I'm correct, and your mom ran at WVU and won multiple Masters national titles as well. But what made you get into the sport yourself?
Yeah, my parents were obviously, like you just said, big runners, but they never pushed me into running. I actually they coached a youth club growing up, and I went out for the team when I was in elementary and middle school, and I actually hated it. And they were like, "Cool, quit. You don't have to do this." And so I sort of stuck with other sports, and then high school came around, and I think that's a hard time for a lot of kids, just figuring out who they want to be, who their friend group is, and what they want to be good at. I think it's really important to find sort of your talents and lean into them. And I just knew from my success in, stupid things like the pacer and the middle school mile, I was good at running, and my parents obviously had a huge background. So I was like, I'm going to give it another shot, and went out for the cross country team. And as they say, the rest is history. Sort of just fell in love with running, caught the running bug from there, and I just have not looked back since.
Yeah. Did you ever do a mile time trial in gym class or no?
Yeah, I think I remember running 6 minutes for the mile at as an eighth grader, which isn't that good, but at the time, that was a big deal for me. And I won. I was the best middle schooler in our school, and so that was sort of that showed I could at least be decent at this.
Yeah, it's obviously kind of maybe the catalyst into running, but when you started out in high school, then did you ever envision yourself being as successful as the end of that career would have been?
No, yes and no. I always had the idea of getting better every year, and so I've continually sort of done that. So that's sort of, why I loved running in the first place, is I worked really hard and I could, reap the benefits of those fruits. But I didn't think that I would be, signing a pro contract at 18 and, at this point having basically a 12-year career, since I just signed a new contract with Asics for another 4 years. That stuff I don't think I ever imagined would happen. So from that standpoint, yeah, but it's also hard to know, as a high schooler, you sort of just look to your weekend invitational, and that's what all you're sort of focused on. You're not really thinking that far beyond.
Yeah. What year in high school did the focus shift from the weekend invitationals to these national kind of meets?
My senior year, I had some breakout races as a junior and became very successful then, but my senior year was sort of let's go chase some records. And to chase those records, I needed to be in faster races and races with pros and collegians. And so that's sort of where we started to look a little bit bigger than just, in my own state.
Yeah. In high school, I believe at the time, only two other guys had ever broken 4 minutes in the mile. Jim Ryan was the first one at 3:55, and then Alan Webb, who I believe Joan actually coached for a little bit. When you were kind of the next step up, what made you believe that you could be that next guy, and how did it feel when you finally got to break that national record at the Millrose Games?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I was sort of just focused on getting better, and as a junior, I ran 4:02 in the mile, so I was like, well, the next natural progression is to run under 4. And yeah, I just got into a great race with pros, and I could chase them the whole time, and I didn't have to worry about, leading the whole time, and So yeah, it was huge. And yeah, my mom actually coached Alan for a year. Both my parents did actually at South Lakes High School, his freshman year. And so they obviously saw, what a national caliber athlete was like. And I think they never really thought that I would be on his level in high school. But, like I said, we just took it a day by day and got a little bit better every year and was able to, capitalize on being in a great race. And breaking four was really special. I mean, now I'm probably like not even top 10 all time anymore. So many high schoolers are just breaking the records and everything. But at the time it was, really big. And, I felt like it was a culmination of all the hard work that I put in over the years in high school.
Yeah. Was it ever daunting to kind of enter those races with pros knowing like they've got years and years on you, or were you just like believing that you could do it the whole time? Like you knew that it was kind of you were in your own race and you were there to do something that was just up to you.
No, because you have nothing to lose as a high schooler. Honestly, the pros are probably more nervous because they don't want to get kicked down by the 18-year-old. I remember talking to guys and they were like, I hated racing you when you were in high school because guys that became my friends because they were like, it's a lose-lose for us. If you run really well, it's awesome and it's really cool for the sport to see a high schooler running that fast. But if we lose to a high schooler, it's not good for us. So I feel like the pressure was pretty low for me, and I just loved racing and competing, and that's what I did.
Yeah. So after the Millrose Games race, you mentioned in an interview about like not really running much speed work at the time, which was that kind of like a staple for you throughout high school and maybe even your career?
I was never that fast of a runner, so I think it's important that runners play to their strengths. You're obviously supposed to work on your weaknesses, but the mile is an aerobic race, and so it's really important to get strong. I mean, I am lucky and fortunate enough to train in Boulder, Colorado. I get to see some of the best athletes in the world train. I get to watch Yard train, and Yard does run fast, but he's doing strength workouts with Joe Klecker and Ollie and, all the guys, Morgan McDonald on his team. And so I feel like there's sort of like a myth that you have to be really fast and run fast workouts to run well in the shorter races. And you just got to get really, really strong and then be efficient at running fast. And that's sort of what my focus was. And that's what I did a lot my senior year. Like I just did a lot of strength work and I kept in touch with my speed with 200s and 300s, but I never really did those sort of like ball buster workouts where you're running 400s at mile race pace or faster and puking afterwards or anything like that. That was definitely not how we trained.
Yeah, I actually was fortunate enough. I was out in Boulder a couple summers ago, and I got to watch the On guys run like a tune-up workout right before the Olympics. It was nuts. I think Ollie ran like 149 or 150 to start a workout, and I was just like, "Oh, this is disgustingly like fast." But they were saying the same thing. Like, we really don't touch much of this.
Hmm.
Is that something that you've been able to carry throughout like your professional career as well? Just kind of sticking with strength oriented workouts. Obviously now in the 10K more, but or even early on.
Yeah, I don't do that many hard all out workouts. That's just not the name of the game. The name of the game is to be incredibly strong year round and constantly putting in B minus workouts. And yeah, like I did a ripper of a workout like 10 days ago before my 5K, and I ended up not even running that well on my 5K. I think sometimes like we overthink things, and it was a great workout and I'm happy I did it, but it's sort of like, maybe it cooked me a little bit too much. Maybe I sort of left a little bit of the race in that workout. I don't actually know, but I think sometimes we overhype those A plus workouts, and in reality we just need to string together weeks, months, years of solid training.
Yeah, and obviously that kind of goes hand in hand with staying healthy as well. And that has been kind of a key like success and predictor for people who have gone pro and not been able to sustain that success. Do you think a lot of that has been because of the lack of intensity that you've been able to continually get better year over year?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely easier to stay healthy if you're training within yourself, and it's hard training works. Like it gets you in good shape, but you're really riding a fine line, and you have to be careful when you do the hard training. And so, I've always taken the approach the last few years. Let's train way less intensity, sort of just super methodical, same thing week in and week out, and let's stay healthy. and let's show up to the starting line excited, feeling good, and maybe I'm a little bit less fit than the guy next to me, but maybe I'm less cooked than him, and let's take that sort of gamble instead of being maybe a little bit injured. I've had years where I've been incredibly fit, but I've just been nursing like a little injury, and you're never going to run your best if you're constantly sort of just have aches and pains and stuff that's holding you back.
Yeah, plus the stress of just knowing like this could happen at any time where, you could step over that fine line and not be able to kind of get back. But yeah, a question I wanted to ask was like sort of at the end of high school, you competed at Penn Relays, which was like one of the most iconic, it might be the most watched video on Flow Track ever. And then ran at the pre-classic, and you were originally committed to Oregon to run. What made you make that decision to jump the NCAA and compete professionally?
Yeah, it was just a unique opportunity. It didn't happen a lot, and I had no plans. I was committed to Oregon, right? Excited to go there. Great coach, great team, great facilities, great training. Like I knew I was going to thrive there, but the pro opportunity came up, and it was just something that was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I couldn't pass up, and financially it made sense. It gave me the freedom and flexibility to choose where I wanted to train, who I wanted to train with, and I got to just explore my running in a different avenue, and that was something that was exciting to me at the time. And so I ultimately decided to do that, and it was a tough decision at the time, but I've now on the other side of it many years, and I'm pretty happy with the decision I made.
Yeah, obviously getting that opportunity, like you said, is once in a lifetime. It doesn't happen very often. But you were guaranteed 10 years under the same brand and team, and you were able to kind of take the reins of that team as well. Taking the gamble of one of like the first high school to pro guys, what was the responsibility like starting Tinman Elite and keeping up with not only your own career, but the team and the brand behind it as well?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I really wanted to do is find guys to train with and sort of have as much as that college experience as I could as a pro. And I just wanted guys that were excited about training, wanted to move to Boulder. And that's what happened with Sam and Reed, and ultimately snowballed into, a full-fledged sponsored team. And yeah, we just wanted to give people that were maybe overlooked or maybe a little bit underdeveloped an opportunity to run at the highest running level that they could. And so that's sort of what Tinman Elite provided for a lot of athletes coming out of the NCAA. And then, through all of our media stuff, our gear sales, we sort of just developed into way bigger of a brand than anyone thought that was going to happen, and sort of captivated the running audience over COVID and the following years, and got to make a shoe collaboration, like did a lot of really cool, unique things. And yeah, that was never planned for my running career. I really just wanted training partners, but was able to sort of create something way bigger than myself through the team, and that's been the honor of a lifetime and something that I will look back on very fondly.
Yeah, I think the whole running community at that time was just like surrounded. It was like, I think you even mentioned at one point in an interview, like sort of this like cult following that Tin Man had like developed, which was just something that honestly I think the sport sort of needed and was looking for at the time. And yeah, it was a pretty sick opportunity to watch that outside perspective of just like, wow, these guys are really training, they're really doing this. And like you said, like it might not be the best guys in the world, but you're really trying to be the best guys in the world. Which ended up getting you to being in 2019, being the U.S. national champion under Tinman Elite in the 2 miles indoors. What was that moment like being a national champion again?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of solidified that I made a good decision to go pro. I was younger than a lot of my peers, and I had some growing up to do and figuring out how to, navigate the pro scene. But when I won that indoor title, it sort of reminded me, okay, like this is the right path, this is the right decision. Yeah, I just felt like almost like an immediate sense of relief. Like I wish I had a better answer, that I was super excited, and I was, but like it was really just like, thank goodness that I have a national title under my belt and I can sort of, start to go after different goals from here.
Yeah, I think you won that out of the slow heat, right?
Yeah, so I didn't have an entry time, and my agent entered me in the race. And the night before, he sort of called me, and he was like, hey, this is a huge deal, but they're going to put you in the B heat. There's too many entries, and they won't put you in the A heat. And I was immediately just like, what? And so the plan was with a few of my teammates, they were going to push for like a mile of the race, and then I was going to take over, and we were just going to time trial, run as fast as I possibly could, and see how fast I could run. And that was the only, sort of chance I got. And then I got to watch the A heat go, and I watched them just start jogging from the start, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna easily like get a national title out of this. This is awesome. So yeah, that was pretty funny and a weird experience, but in the end, I definitely felt like I was the fittest guy on that day. So even if I was in the A heat, I felt like I had a good chance of winning.
Yeah, that's like just an incredible story to win that out of the slow heat and be able to watch that race like develop in front of you. Like, oh my gosh, I'm actually gonna win this. Like,
Yeah.
this might happen. Obviously, Tinman has produced great athletes: Reed Fisher, Sam Parsons, Joey, even and Steeple. You're obviously still able to train with them, but now that you're with Asics, how does that work? And what made you think like these guys are so special? I need to keep working with them and like be able to continue to do that regardless of what the brand you're under is.
Yeah, Tinman's sort of figuring out what the next phase of our team looks like, but right now the plan is that there will be an Adidas sponsored marathon team with
Okay.
Reed and Connor, and they're going to develop, just marathoners. That's going to be the focus. My mom's going to head the team, and my dad's going to be the assistant coach. I will then sort of be a part of a group that's not technically sponsored by Tinman Elite because they have a different sponsor than us. That will be more track focused. So me, Joey, Sam will be continue to be coached by Joan. We'll actually still be able to train with Reed and Connor when it's convenient for us. But we will sort of be more focused on the track, and we will not be Tinman Elite media stuff anymore. I will no longer be working for the business, and I'll just be sort of a co-founder, and I will help advise on bigger decisions a team has to make or recruits or things like that. But I will be more focused on sort of my own Asics career moving forward. I'm working right now on launching a website, a YouTube channel, working on my newsletter. So I'm sort of focused on that side of things, and the team is going to be pushed into the marathon direction.
That's awesome. I think like that team has been something special to watch, and obviously, I'm sure it's even more special to be a part of. And last year, it felt like the team had a pretty big year, especially you guys with Reed, yourself, and Sam running really, really well. Going back to the 2024 Olympic trials, you finished fourth in the 10K. What did that feel like? Was it sort of a happy moment, or was it like I'm one spot, like I'm just one spot out of qualifying for the Olympics?
Yeah, it was a happy moment. I was such a bad runner in 2023 and just felt so far removed from being competitive. And I just had one goal for 2024, which was to leave my running career with no regrets and just have it be my last year. And I sort of was like, I just didn't think I was running well enough to get re-signed. I just sort of knew what the future held, and I was like, all right, like spend as much time with your teammates, just soak in the process, have so much fun at practice, and then just show up to race and run your heart out every time you get. And that's sort of what I poured into that 10K build up in that race. On paper, it's like a fourth place, and you're the first person out. But for me, like just the fact that I was competitive and able to go and dig deep when it got really hard and push with some of the top Americans was huge for me. And I'm my own harshest critic. Like I don't ever think that I did well and do well enough, or I always think I'm just very hard on myself. And I think that was one of the few races I walked away and I was like, I'm really proud of how hard I pushed in that race and everything I got out of it.
Yeah, what made you make that gamble of jumping from what you had been used to, the 1500, all the way to a 10K?
Yeah, I just need to do something different. I've been doing the 15 for a long time, and I've sort of had like some somewhat success in it. Like a few years, I've been, top three, top five U.S. athlete. As far as time goes, or finishing at USA is like, yeah, like it's. But I just saw how much the game has changed, and I mean, we're the best 1500 country in the world. So it was like for me to be the best in the U.S., I have to also be the best in the world, and I just felt like I didn't have the speed for that. I didn't have the sort of, I couldn't do what Yard and Cole and all those guys did in that race. And so I was like, I need to move up. And it was a natural progression, natural time in my career. I'd spent probably 5 or 6 years focused on the 1500. And I was like, okay, maybe we just try something different. And so we put a 10K on the schedule, and I enjoyed it so much. I love the training for it. And I love the process, and I love the race. Like, I just loved like moving up throughout, feeling good, like, and just felt like it was a really good distance for me.
That seems like the opposite answer of what most 1500 runners would be saying about a 10K. It's like, I hate this. It's way too long, 25 laps. Like, I'm not in this. Do you ever see yourself running further than 10K now that you've run and trained like that?
Yeah, I'm racing a 10 miler this spring, and hopefully a half marathon at some point in the next few years. I don't think I'll do a marathon anytime soon. I don't really have the desire or the mileage behind me to run a successful marathon. Like, I've seen what Reed does to be successful, and I can't do that stuff yet. So, but I'm going to run Cherry Blossom 10 miler. I'm going to run some road 10Ks this spring. So, I definitely think that would be a fun, just mix up of doing the roads and track, and it will be, a good experience, because I think ultimately those will help all my other races. Like, just getting strong is just gonna, make everything else better.
Yeah. I was like waiting for the day to watch the transition from the 800, 1500 in high school all the way to the marathon. That's like an insane kind of progression, but even the jump to 10K has been impressive. And when you look back at some of the accomplishments that you've been able to have, a national title, qualifying for the world championships for your teammate Sam, watching Reed run the top 10 finishes at the US trials and top 5 in Chicago, like, how do you compare the team accomplishments and your own accomplishments when you look back of just like, wow, this is really what has happened in my career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care too much about my own accomplishments. Like, I don't save any of my medals. I don't save any of my bibs. I don't give a shit about that stuff. I just don't. I do this because I want to see how good I can be, and I want to help others along the journey. And how amazing Reed's run over the marathons, and how Sam has had such an amazing career for Germany, compared to what those guys were in college when they were just sort of like barely making NCAAs or not even NCAA All-Americans, has been really special. And I'm super happy that I got to play a small part in that role. And that's ultimately what means a lot to me.
Yeah, and now you're running with Asics. What are the goals with this new contract? Obviously finishing fourth last year with Adidas, but what is next for you? You said roads in the spring and stuff, but what kind of is in play in track?
Yeah, I'm really focused next few years on the 5K 10K on the track, but while also starting to dabble on the longer road races. So 10 miler, I'm doing Boulder 10K, and that's where I want to be. There's not actually many sort of athletes that are in that sweet spot, and so I think it's a good lane for me to go. There's a lot of athletes that are strictly 5K 10K on the track, but they don't really do too much road stuff. And then there's a lot of athletes that just do road stuff and sort of do not touch the track anymore. So I just sort of want to bounce back and forth between those. Like, I'll run a few road races this spring, but I'll ultimately be just building towards a great USA championship at the end of July and early August, and that will be sort of, my big focus. And then we'll see if I qualify for the world team, then we'll be pushing towards Tokyo. And if I don't, then I'll take a break and I'll build up for a world cross country team that I really want to run on in the fall and winter. And what's great about our sport is there's always something right around the corner to get excited about. So I'm very fortunate that I sort of have like a lot of really cool things to look forward to.
Yeah. I want to ask you kind of three quick questions to finish off the episode. My first question is your best advice for young track and field runners.
Invest in your teammates. Really, really sort of pour your energy and lean into your teammates and their success. I just think you'll have such a more rewarding experience if you can look back and be excited about the relays that you did with them, or the bus rides, or the pasta parties. It's just running at the end of the day, and it's important because we make it important and we allow it to be important, but really like invest in the relationships that you have. Like, some of my best friends are guys that I've just shared endless miles with, and you can't really replicate that relationship anywhere else other than just being out on long runs with them, suffering through hard workouts together, and really lean into those sort of moments.
Yeah, looking back at some of the long run conversations, like a couple of years later, you're just like, these conversations would never happen if we weren't running, 15 to 20 miles with each other. Like, those are the conversations that are always awesome.
Totally.
What is your best memory from your track and field career when you look back?
That's a good question. I really enjoyed last year at the Olympic trials with my family. Like, my daughter got to watch me run, and my wife got to watch me run, and getting to hug and give them a kiss after the race was really special. Yeah, to be honest, I thought that was maybe my last ever trials and last ever championship, and just like there's photos of them in the crowd and cheering me on, and it's just like, yeah, that's really special. And I know that was special. Like, my daughter was just old enough to sort of recognize me and say "dad, dad" when I ran by, and that's really cool.
That's awesome. Who are your favorite athletes to watch right now? Either one or top three that you just really enjoy watching right now.
Good question. I mean, I compete against a lot of these guys, so sometimes it's hard for me to say. It's been cool to see what Grant's a good, great competitor and good friend, and someone that I've known, throughout the years. And he was my host on my Stanford visit when I went there in high school, so it's crazy to see how good he is now. I still, have aspirations of competing with him and, racing him the next few years. So I don't want to, give him too much praise. But, yeah, I really like Josh Kerr. Josh is just a great guy. Just seeing his confidence that he shows up to these championships and just ready to toe the line and beat anybody is just awesome. And then Cole is just very humble, showed up, had the most amazing Olympic run, and it's impossible not to root for a guy like that. And so I'd say those are three athletes that I really sort of look up to and think are great runners.
Yeah, they're insane. They're all insane.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks again, Drew, for the time. It was an honor getting to talk with you and showcase your running journey today. Let us know where people can follow along with your journey and your new plans, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, I'm pretty active on my social media stuff. So DrewHunter00 on Instagram. I'm coming out with a website, drewhunter.com. It's in the works right now, so I don't know when this is going to be released, but it may not be done. But eventually you can go there, and I have a newsletter that I write on a lot too. Then you can find that on my website or on my social channels. But yeah, more than anything, you can go to your local running store or go to Asics and buy some Asics trainers and share a photo of you wearing them and tag Asics and say Drew is the reason I'm wearing these. That would be great. So if you really want to help me out, that's what you can do.
Everyone go buy a pair of Nova Bless or something and support Drew. Yeah, thanks again, Drew. Best of luck coming up this season.
Yeah, thank you.